Okay, we're gonna call the Water Sewer Commission meeting to order at 9:08 on the 12th of March at, I just said 9:08. Members present, Kyle Hoos, Phil Stinchfield, Bob Sullivan, Colin Hare. Okay, so the first agenda item is review and approve February meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions on the February meeting minutes? No. No. Okay. So I just need a motion on that to approve those.
I was absent, so
Right.
I was absent the last one.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So Phil would need to make
Phil, make a motion to
Make a
approve.
motion to approve?
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain is Kyle. Okay. Staffing update on the, anything on, did you post anything on?
No, I haven't posted yet.
Okay.
Too many headaches down here right now.
Yeah.
But I think since the last meeting, we hired Bruce.
Yep.
You met him, I think. Have you met Bruce yet?
Maybe.
Very nice guy. We talked, did have a chat with him. He seems like a
Yeah,
nice
and
guy.
it seems to work out very well so far, so.
I think he'll be a good fit.
Yep. Yeah, he seems to fit in well, so.
Yep.
So that'll work out. Yeah, and I just gotta really focus on getting that sewer position filled now, just to get the assistant chief and
Okay.
somebody under Peter. And like I said, we keep having all kinds of headaches down here. Seems like everything wants to go at once on us, so.
It's about that time, right? 20, how many years is it now? 20? Close to it?
Yeah.
21?
Yeah, 2005 is when it went online. So between 2003 2005 it was built, I think, so. Yeah,
It's not new anymore.
21, 23 years old.
I know. So I think we're probably gonna have to identify, I know we're gonna get into the budget stuff, but we probably need to identify a lot of things associated with that, that will need to get preventive maintenance that we probably should just, you know, it's the lifespan. is
Yeah,
gonna be-
some of them were at the end. I mean, some of that I was already addressing,
Yeah.
like when we said, you know, blower phase replacements, stage replacements, you know, we're seeing that we're getting close to the end of life, so I wanted to start, you know, buy one a year. You know, we budgeted one for this season, so
Yeah.
then we'll do another one for next year. Or I may even skip next year and do one the year after, but just because of the list of stuff that we're going to go over shortly.
Yeah.
But those are a lot of the things that are on the list here that, you know, we got to start planning for the failure and obsolescence of these. Some of the things that are failing now, we found out that you can't even get the replacement parts.
Yeah.
Like last year's budget, we budgeted for the SBR control panels. Those we have to replace because, you know, they're still working right now, but we can't get replacement. So if one goes down, we have no replacement parts for it. So
How's the status of the UV bulbs? I know that was another issue that we couldn't,
Yeah,
those
so
were almost obsolete right out of the gate.
they were obsolete when you put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't know why the engineers would design something that's obsolete.
well, this goes to some of the other problems that
Yeah.
we had talked about previously about procurement laws.
Yeah.
You know, you put something out to bid, the contractor wins the bid, they're going to buy the cheapest thing that meets the spec. So now you put something in, they're like, well, we can buy it. So they put it in, and now it's obsolete before you put it in. That's why it was cheap. You know, the company's going out of business.
Yeah.
So now we got a UV unit. I mean, I like the UV unit. It works great.
Yep.
Takes up a small area, but you can't get a replacement for it. You know, we had looked at it when we were going through the asset management plan, and I forget what they had for a number in there, $2 or $3 million to upgrade the UV, because you got to build a building, because that particular UV is, you know, smaller than this table, but for the ones that are equivalent to it that everybody uses will take up more than this room. Because that's we call it a Franken reactor, but it's small, but it's just so intense that they can do it in a small area, whereas the other ones are much more mild. So it's got to go through a whole series of them, and it takes a lot longer path. But that's, you know, one of the issues with the procurement laws that I see. we've identified several issues with the procurement laws.
So are we still good on the bulbs as far as,
Yeah, so once I found someone that would actually make the bulbs for me, they're not the actual manufacturer's bulb, but they make them.
Okay, all right.
So we got bulbs made. It took me 2 years, but because the company that did that UV unit, like I said, they went out of business. So the ballast to run the UV bulbs, they're made in Germany, so we called them up and they're like, oh, well, you got to go through a distributor. We're like, well, who's the distributor? And they said that company. I'm like, well, they've been out of business for years.
yeah,
So we finally convinced them to sell us directly. So we did buy 2 new ones, and then we sent the ones that died back to them, and they rebuilt them. So we have spares on the shelf
okay,
to get us by for a few years. But
okay.
actually, I think I had that on. It had been on the previous list. I dropped it off this year just because we have so many other things to fix, and I know I have spare parts for it right now. But
Okay.
I do want to try to get another set of ballasts just to make sure we can, ride the lifespan out as long as we can.
Yeah,
Because like I said, I don't like the options of the new ones. I think this one is a better option at this point. If I can get enough spare parts to keep us running for years, I think we'll be better off. But bulbs wise, we're all set for bulbs for now, and the ballasts I have enough in stock to keep us going for a little while.
okay. All right. Did I skip over manager reports? I'm sorry, I skipped over.
Yeah, I don't have those because, like I
Okay.
said, we all hands on deck down here this last week, just trying to keep up with the problems that we had down here.
Okay.
That's why you skipped over it.
Yeah.
He knew.
Subconscious.
yeah.
He already knew. This is a test.
All right, so staffing, so project updates.
So we went through and, everything's pretty much done. The retaining wall's done up on Depot Street. The only thing left is the sidewalks and paving. So those should be starting up probably next month, either April or May. I would assume they'll probably get started in late April. We did renegotiate with the contractor because originally when it was put out to bid, it was to reset the curving that was there. But then we said, well, it needs curving on the other side. That's going to be new curving, so it would look awkward having old curving and new curving. So we know Adam doesn't have any supply on the old curving, so we figured let's replace everything from like Cottage Street up to go with new curving so that it would match on both sides going up with new curving. And we can stockpile the old curving so that if Adam has repairs on Main Street or something that he needs to do, he'd be able to match it with the old curving as opposed to putting a new section in that would look awkward. So we renegotiated that part of the contract. We renegotiated on the sidewalks a little bit to avoid using concrete for the driveways. They're going to do the asphalt in the driveways so it'll blend easier. I think the original bid had 4 inches of concrete in the sidewalks, and I think Adam says it works better with the 5-inch, so we built that in to get the 5-inch. I believe we're going to try to switch from the wire mesh to the fiber mesh that they include right in the asphalt. I think it holds up better. I know from what I've seen, when you put through the wire mesh, the metal wire mesh, I think you put it in there, and half the time it settles to the bottom, and it's fairly useless anyway because it's not in the middle of the concrete. But even when it's in the middle of the concrete, once it starts rusting, it rust jacks the concrete, and I think it breaks it apart more. So I think the fiber will last a lot longer. We did shoot for a credit on that because it was less labor intensive, and
Yeah, I think it's probably like $10 a yard more
for the concrete,
for the
but
concrete.
based on the labor and
Yeah.
the materials, it would end up being a savings.
Savings, yeah.
So we worked that through. What was the last one? I think that was it for the change orders, just that for the sidewalks, and everything was still within the budget. So there was no increase in what was budgeted for. And the sidewalk money came out of the town funds at town meeting. The retaining wall repairs were Chapter 90 funds. So, yeah, I guess we're just left with the paving and the curbs.
Yeah, so it's on, everything's on track.
Still on track, yeah.
Good.
I think the retaining wall came out well. You know, I think the new guardrails up there are better than that. They used to have the concrete with the wires going, but they were all kind of laid over. And with the new guardrails, I think that looks a lot better up there.
I haven't even been up there, I have to go look at
I
that.
don't think that wall will go anywhere. So we did notice that the water was coming down past the catch basin, but you know, once we get all the paving done, I just got to make sure Sally gets everything pitched to go to that catch basin so that it doesn't, for one, go
Yeah.
across the wall somewhere else.
Yeah.
We are going to put like a shoe berm along there to avoid the water going down there, but we also don't want to direct it down to that next driveway because it'll go, you know, looking at the pitches, it would end up going down to that guy's driveway and causing a problem down there. So we just got to make sure he gets the pitch right. But, you know, he did a great job over here. I don't know if you guys remember how it used to be over here in front of the chain link fence where there was a gate like to get in just as you're going down Gilboa. Well, there was catch basins there, but it never got to them. So there was always that huge puddle that was there, and you'd see half the tar up on the side because you going through the puddles and it was just taking it out. But I think he did a great job getting that all angled right and everything pitched the right way to make everything work right over there. So hopefully we can address that issue up there and get that taken care of. Still no movement on the North Street project. I guess that's about it for the projects we've got out going right now. The asset management on the water side, it's pretty much finalized. We just got to do the in-kind services paperwork and get that submitted and have the paperwork for Matt to sign off that it's completed and that project will be done. So hopefully that'll free up some time before we get into another big project.
Okay. All right. Okay, next on the agenda is Synagro. I know Kyle has been working very hard on to try to figure out that process, the options, the different avenues. So I think I'll let Kyle speak on that and he can address everything.
Yeah, so Bob and I went to Upper Blackstone. We met with the plant manager on February 24th. He had reviewed, he was kind of impressed that we went up. He said typically people just send in the lab results, but I thought it made sense. We went up and met him, you know, and get a little more personal. He looked at the analyticals. He saw that the alum numbers were kind of higher than what he was comfortable with. That was one thing. The other thing that he noticed was our solid numbers were really low. With Synagro closing, obviously everyone's kind of spreading out and trying to find another avenue for sludge removal. So what you're finding is a lot of these places seem to be a lot more picky and choosy on what they're taking in, rightfully so. Alum, like I said, was a key thing, but the solid numbers, once he saw our solid numbers, which are around the high 1s to 2%, he basically said, yeah, we can't take your sludge at this rate. They're desiring like 4.5 to 9%. When you get above 9% solids, they have no way of pumping it. It's just too thick. They don't handle cake or anything like that. They just deal with the liquids. So his you know, he says, you know, a lot of people are in this situation. You guys aren't alone. He did say if we could increase our solid numbers into that desirable range, that he would readdress it with his team to see if they'd be willing to take on our sludge. This was up at Blackstone.
Okay.
Yep, during this meeting. He then was good enough to reach out to some of his customers that have experienced this issue before, and he came back with us, you know, saying there's a gravity belt thickener and a gravity drum thickener is an option that some of his customers use to get it within that range. So that was kind of step A. We got that feedback, which was nice of him to at least, you know, do a little bit of homework for us. Bob had said we could look into alternative solutions for the alum, you know, to try to resolve that. But I think the biggest thing was the solids.
Most of the places said they don't want it with the alum, so
Right.
we got to switch from the alum in order to get rid of it one way or another.
Right. I had reached out to another wastewater commissioner that I know, a couple other people. They put me in touch with a guy, Jim Bird. He's the owner of Wastewater Massachusetts. He has a lot of different, he's been in the industry for over 30 years. You know, he's almost like somewhat of like a broker to handle wastewater. He's very dialed in with everyone, all the different facilities within Mass, Rhode Island, and whatnot. I was told, you know, probably should give him a call if there's an avenue of getting rid of waste. He would know. He would be able to help guide you. I reached out to him, and initial discussions that we had, you know, he felt comfortable we could probably get rid of the sludge. He didn't think it would really be a concern. He asked for the analytical lab reports of our sludge, which Bob had sent him. We were on an email chain together. He ended up getting back to me, and he said the alum number is just not acceptable. He said they just his outlets on getting rid of the sludge, just unfortunately they're choosy right now. They're being picky on what they're taking in, because everyone's in a crunch. So it seems like no matter what we do, that's the first thing we have to address is, you know, dropping our alum numbers. I asked him if there's a specific range, or are they looking for 0 alum? He said, I don't think that's feasible. But you just have to lower it. Bob and I have talked about, Bob's got some other...
Yeah, that was actually who was calling me right before the meeting. I didn't answer it, but
Right.
it's the manufacturer of the chemical. So we had gone down this avenue previously. Do you remember when I said I wanted a budget for a pilot study? And that was looking at getting that. I originally budgeted for that pilot study anticipating an aluminum limit in our wastewater discharge. For whatever reason, the state pulled the aluminum limit out of our permit, which I was very happy with, so we didn't move forward with that pilot study. But now maybe we should have moved forward with the pilot study. But I had people come out and do a jar test before, and they have some other chemicals. The problem with it is that all the other chemicals are like 3 to 4 times more expensive than the alum. That's why everybody used to use alum, because it's very cheap, you know, very crude chemical. Just you dump a bunch of it in there, and it takes care of what you need to. Problem with it is that it solidifies in your lines, it solidifies in the tank. That's why you gotta have the heated tank, you gotta have the building warm. We set up hot water flush on the lines because we had the lines clog up so many times, and when they put the lines in here, they didn't sleeve them, so they just ran the lines directly. When they clog up, it's either dig up the driveway. You know, we had a company come in and jet the line out with a little tiny jetter. We finally got them cleaned out, and then we set it up to flush hot water through it after it runs a dose, just to keep those lines from solidifying on us. So, like I said, it's 3 to 4 times more expensive. Alum, we can get, you know, a 3,000 gallon load, and it'll last, you know, 3 or 4 months. The other chemicals only have like a 30-day shelf life, so we'll have to get more deliveries, smaller volume. But that's the other thing, is that it uses less, so it'll kind of counter itself a little bit. But like I said, it's more deliveries, so we'll have to get deliveries like at least every month, as opposed to once a quarter. So I was waiting for him to call me. He finally called when I couldn't answer it, but I'll give him a call back after this meeting and try to set up some jar testing again. We did jar testing in the past. The other stuff, you know, we got much better results with it, but we were still within permit with the alum, and the alum was cheaper, so we never really went down that avenue to change.
Okay.
But
So that-
now we're kind of in the spot that we have to change. So
Yeah. So
And
then,
I think the reason they don't want alum is it creates slag inside the incinerator.
Yeah.
So that's
when you incinerate,
that's why
the
it's
metal
not desirable.
lines up, and you get slag in there, and it screws up the incinerators.
Right. So, in my opinion, that's kind of step one to at least resolve that issue. It seems like that gentleman I had been talking to, he may be able to get rid of our sludge with low solid numbers as long as we take care of the alum. So at least, you know, if July 1st, when Synagro out of contract with us, you know, if we lose that avenue, at least we have somewhere to go. in my opinion, from seeing and hearing everything, we definitely have to get into a better range for percentages to make the sludge more desirable to get rid of it. I looked into some companies, passed a packet to you guys. On the top of the packet was today's article about Synagro ongoing with the city. Basically, the city wanting to shut them down. And we're not the only community that is having these issues. I mean, it's throughout Mass, Rhode Island. Kind of talks about people having to get rid of their sludge and all the way into Ohio by rail. So this is a huge increase on expense and a huge issue that everyone's going through. In the facilities that are closer, nearing capacity. As far as the two different systems that were suggested to us, I found a company, BDP, US-made products. They're out of upstate New York. They've been at it since 1971. They were kind of pioneers for a lot of this different technology. So I have one of these is about the company.
Yeah.
Then there's another one on the gravity belt thickeners and another one on the drum thickener. I had a conversation with one of the head reps from that company and kind of talked to him a little bit, guy Dan. He was saying that the gravity belt thickening system is usually a little bit more cost effective. You have more screen surface. Basically, the way it works is you have your wastewater, it comes into the gravity belt thickener, and the belt is porous, so the solids stay on top, and the water will go through the belt. The faster you run the belt, the more solids you're gonna hold on top to make the product thicker, and it does polymer injection that's metered as well. He told me with that type of thickener, you have more ability to adjust your output numbers. So if you want to get a little bit higher in percentages or a little bit lower, it's variable speed. You have some options. Where the rotary drum, it is what it is. They seem to be not crazy to get set up. I mean, I didn't, when he first said that, I had no clue what we were going to be looking at for infrastructure. The units need to be put within a building that's above freezing. You can have them outside. They're self-contained to help with odor. But he said, to have it outside, that would be down south where you don't have the temperatures that we have. It's not feasible here.
Makes sense.
You'd have to heat trace piping and all that, which just doesn't make sense. So seems like it needs to go inside of some sort of a heated building. As far as the gravity belt thickener goes, which seem almost like the better option in my opinion, from what he was telling me, they would pretty much design a skid. They'd put the gravity belt thickener on it with all the controls, everything, build the skid, and then you slide it into place. The skid's 25 feet in length by 10 feet wide. The unit's about a year out if you went to go order it. He said roughly that's what they're talking for projected, getting the product and putting it together. And he said basically the next step, if we wanted to move forward, he got me in touch with a company that is the local rep. It's Carlson. Mike Sullivan is the rep they're out of Connecticut. They do have a local rep that lives in Dudley, which is nice. They have local facilities. Milford, the town of Milford, is actually one that has some of their products that could, really stand behind what they're claiming for support. But the thing would be, it seems like the next thing would be they could come out and meet with all of us and kind of go over different questions and kind of lay it out a little bit deeper. They could then take a sample of our sludge, bring it back with them, and run it through one of these actual machines and basically tell us exactly, this is what it can achieve. Not only that, this is how much chemical you're going to need to use, and this is what the budget would be over a certain span of years. So that could help us with our costs and whatnot. you know, I kind of said back a napkin, I'm not going to hold you to it, but what are we talking numbers wise? He said equipment wise, you're looking like $300,000 to $400,000, all in. You know, historically, what he's seen,
Yeah.
probably 750 to $1 million with the building and the site work and all that type of stuff. He did say, so this would almost be like a primary process on dewatering. It may make sense to explore the option maybe down the road for doing a secondary, is what he had said. You know, maybe down the road we decide we want to generate cake instead of liquid sludge. That being said, when they're designing this skid, you know, they could look to add certain components so you could retro it over to have it work with the secondary process. Where you do your first, you know, you do your primary to bring it down to a certain percentage and then it'd go into a secondary process. One thing that, you know, we could also do to save money that he had suggested was a lot of this stuff can get pre-assembled at their facility in New York, which I'm a firm believer of. Reason being is, you know, they have their hands on it. They're the ones that put it together. It comes in here assembled. You know, you get your final hookups and whatnot, but the meat and potatoes were done by them. You know, versus you get all these loose pieces a la carte, and you put it in the building, and you get another sub that comes in and puts it together, and then there's an issue, and then you get finger pointed.
Right.
You know, it's on the manufacturer, it's on the
You also don't have to pay prevailing wage if they're putting it together.
Right. He said it's
we do here.
it's 2/3 the cost if they do it. So in my opinion, that seems pretty clean and cut and dry.
Yeah.
You're going to save money, and I think on a warranty standpoint, it's just a better avenue.
Absolutely, I agree.
But I mean, I think we get them out there, but between the different references and case studies and the history behind that company. You got a local rep right in Dudley. I liked everything about it. He's totally on board for setting up field trips if we want to go to look at. Actually, he said there's a lot of them around. If we want to take a tour and go look at these. But I mean, like I said, I think we definitely have a serious issue going on with.
Right.
We're going to have problems getting rid of our sludge, but I think we need to keep our pedal to the metal on moving towards getting temporary hauling solution for now, and then long term, you know, trying to make it more desirable,
Yeah.
so that we're able to do something. But like you said, in my opinion, we might not be looking to produce cake now, but it might be worth, you know, just thinking about long term. Maybe it makes sense to. It costs us a little bit now, but you're modifying that investment, you know, to take that on later on might make sense.
Okay.
So.
So it sounds like they're pretty much like a one-stop shop. So they handle the engineering part of it. They come down, look at everything.
Yep.
They design it, build it, and install it.
Correct.
Well, they design the equipment,
Yeah.
not the building, so we would have to
Yeah, the building,
get somebody else to do a
yeah.
building
Right,
and
yeah.
put it in.
Right.
Right.
So I think I'd be willing to bet you're going to be well over $1 million.
Yep.
I know you said that they said between 800 and $1 million or whatever, but
Yep.
I don't know if they're talking prevailing wage, but you know, you're gonna have to repipe to get the liquid sludge to the building.
Right.
You have to put a building in. I would assume it would have to be like a 2-story building, so that whatever you're generating goes down into a different tank. You'd probably have to put another tank in to hold it. So I would bet you're probably closer to 2 to 3 million.
So where would, not to get into the logistics of it, I'm just trying to understand the process a little better. So when the inflow comes in, where does that, so it's taking it, where would it take it? So we take it out of the tanks now?
So the tanks here send it down to the digesters.
Yeah.
So we get digesters down there they're aerobic digesters, so we aerate. It adds air. That process breaks down the nitrates and nitrites, releases the nitrogen gas, and you know it just breaks down those components more. So that it's supposed to break down that waste to get it, you know, even less solids than it would have been before. So it breaks it down, generate less waste, and then you shut the air off, let it settle to thicken it up. So that's the process that we use now. So if you're going through a belt press, you're going to add, you know, some kind of coagulant. I'm not sure if they tell you need to add like a thickening tank So you would then take it out of the digesters, pump it into another tank that you add some coagulant or flocculant to make it settle and thicken it up a little more before you go through the process of a belt press or a rotary drum or a screen or plate press, whatever method you use. So overall, I think you could end up on top of the equipment. You know, the building I think is going to cost a lot more than you think. You probably may have to add another tank to add another process of thickening.
So, not to interrupt, so were they pumped out now? When the truck goes in the haul out? So would it come from there into this piped over?
So essentially, we could potentially use the pumps that pump it up here to pump it to whatever process we're using now, or whatever the process we would be
So
using.
after say it goes through this
Belt press.
this system, so
Right.
it's not a belt press. It's the, what do you call that? The
Gravity belt thickener.
thickener, right? Gravity belt thickener.
Yeah.
When it goes through that process, where does the
Right. So
all
there's
the water? How does that
So
get
there's
back?
filtrate, and then there's the thickened sludge that you'd be putting. So that thickened sludge is gonna, if it's liquid, it's gonna have to go into another tank in order to be pumped out.
Right.
The other filtrate's gonna have to go into a different tank to be pumped back up to the headworks of the plant,
Then go through the
UV,
system,
back
go through the
through
UV.
back through the process again.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out where after we get the thickening part, which gets the sludges gets hauled out.
Right,
Where
so
does the rest of the water go?
That's why I'm saying I think you're gonna have to add another tank for the filtrate water to go into to pump back to the headworks. Then you're gonna have to add another tank for the thickened sludge to go into so that you can pump it off to the hauler.
Yep.
So there's multiple.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, a tank in our industry costs $500,000 to put a tank in. So you're gonna have to put two tanks in. Pumping systems for both. So that's why I think it's gonna be.
So would they-
This is why I said before, if we have to get into this where we have to thicken, you're looking at millions, not hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. So would they? I mean, I would think that they would, when they come down and look at everything, they would design something
Yeah.
that would make
I,
that.
I think this Carlson rep, that regional rep will have more insight, I'm
Okay.
sure. I'm sure he's got examples of budgets that other municipalities have used. You know, or even if we go to Milford or one of these other locations, they could probably give us history on what they ran into.
So this is going to be, like I said, we got to keep the pedal to the metal on this stuff because
Yeah.
I think we're going to run into some problems if we don't.
Right. So one of the other things, like I said, you got to switch from the alum to something else. And in that, some of those other chemicals work better for thickening. So what we might do is I'll look at when we go through the process of getting rid of the alum, using a different chemical to treat for the phosphorus in the treatment system. We have a line that goes from this building where we use the chemicals now down to those digesters. It was actually designed to treat the water before it comes back up to here into the treatment plant so that you're not sending stuff that's high in phosphorus back into the treatment plant without the coagulant that removes the phosphorus. But if I repurpose that line and go into the digesters, I may be able to get more flocculants and flock to get it to settle to get a higher percent solid. So if we can eliminate the alum and thicken a little more, if we have the potential to get close to 4.5 gravity, then we have a lot more options for the sludge.
Without doing this system?
Right.
With the existing
So
system?
yeah, so I'm going to run through this process, but I don't want to stop
Yeah, we
this
gotta keep-
process
right,
either.
right,
So,
right.
and even if I do get to that, I still think we're going to end up at some point having a problem. I mean, luckily we don't have an issue with the PFAS like most places do.
Right.
But at some point, people aren't going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, yours doesn't have PFAS, so we're going to take it." At some point, people are going to look at it and say, "There's PFAS in everybody's sludge. We don't want to deal with it. We're not taking other people's sludge." So we're going to have to find another solution at some point. And I'm guessing at some point, whatever the solution is probably going to be that we have to, use a gravity thickener or something to get it to either, probably to a cake. So
Right.
you'd probably go that gravity thickener to a belt press,
Right.
and then we would create cake instead. With the quality of our sludge, you may be able to find somebody that'll compost and repurpose it. Just because we don't have a lot of industry, we don't have industrial or a lot of commercial business going into it. It's mostly, bedroom community, so it's a more usable sludge than most. So there's other things that we got to look at. I still think we need to go down this path. I think that long term, we're going to end up this way anyway. Short term, I mean, we're not going to get this in place quick enough. Hopefully we can get something through a phone call I'll make after this meeting to find out, to see what we think we can get to for percent solids and reduce the aluminum.
So, what would be what's your recommendation on, do you think we should just have a meeting set up with Carlson? Get that ball rolling?
Yep, I think you could probably give us a lot of insight on it. At least, like I said, we don't have to pull the trigger, but at least start planning and have it ready in case we have to panic. Get a little backup.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem is going to be a building and stuff.
Right.
But originally, I thought the land over there was like 500, 550 or something like that.
No, it's 2.5.
That was the end of the price went up. Because I originally had it going through my head that maybe we purchase that. I know there's a 1 meter Combine Sanderson press over there, and it's all set up the way we would need to create cake instead of liquid sludge. So I was looking at it saying, 550, you get the building already, you get the tanks there, we would, if you bought that for 550 or whatever, with the equipment already there, we could buy like a septic truck, just pump it out here, run it over, dump it into the thickener over there, and just make a trip once a day and then run the press once a week, and we would be all set. But they want a lot more money than we thought.
2.5, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, regardless of any of it, I think our costs are going to go up substantially on the sewer side. Because I was told, I think Upper Blackstone is like a 12 cent per gallon just on disposal, not counting trucking.
and we're paying.
So,
what are we paying?
It's
now?
10.
10
It was
for,
10 cents with Synagro with disposal and trucking.
10.07.
Yeah,
with disposal and trucking.
Yeah.
right.
And then that was just disposal.
That's just disposal.
Yeah.
And that's
Like
if it
it
can go
12 cents.
close here and it doesn't
Right.
have to go further.
Which is why I
And-
raised it. I doubled what we're paying now.
Which I think is
Because I think we're
smart.
going to be at least double.
Okay.
So we'll start with double, and if it turns out that we're end up higher than that, we would go to fall town meeting to appropriate a little more money.
I did see an article in the Providence Journal that Upper Blackstone, Narragansett Bay Commission, and Springfield met, and they were talking about designing and building a pelletized site with a budget of $1 to $3 billion. I guess that recently they just met to try to come up with a solution for this issue. But PFAS got brought up, and they're like, some states won't allow pelletized
Yep.
waste because of the PFAS. No one wants to, deal with that. So it seems like I haven't really heard anything too much government-wise, them getting involved, but it seems like,
Oh, they're gonna.
it's-
Actually, I just got they gave me a notice of non-compliance yesterday saying that we didn't submit PFAS through the EDEP portal, and I'm like, we've never submitted anything wastewater through EDEP. We do on the water side, but never on the wastewater side. I got to call him back, find out what's going on with that. But they're, we did the UCMRs on the water side. We're doing testing in the PFAS on the influent, the effluent, and the sludge here. They didn't generate limits, but always when they start testing and do a report only, that's just so they can gather the data to know what limits to set. So at some point, they're going to set a limit on the wastewater as to what the PFAS discharge was allowed. So that's coming too, and like I said, we're fairly fortunate right now that all our numbers are very low on PFAS.
right.
But like you said, nobody wants to get into it for the PFAS. But, ours would be more desirable for that if they did have that process
Right.
with the low levels of PFAS. So, like I said, they have it in their head, everybody's got PFAS, so they're not going to go down that road to begin with.
So just thinking out loud here, so the process would be, the recommendation would be to meet with that meet with that
Right.
consultant,
Yep.
go over that, and then you're gonna work on your side on the existing conditions
Yeah,
here.
operations to get us to a point that we can have somebody take it.
Right.
Yeah. And then, would we shoot for a target of, obviously the annual town meeting is not gonna, and we wouldn't have stuff ready for that at this point, so I'm thinking probably like a fall town meeting if we need to go with a large, if we need to do this process that Kyle's talking about. To get it, get the numbers all together, and also,
Yeah, so,
when we get into the budget, I think that's part of what I'd like to include is a lot of like I said, the plant is 21 years old. There's gonna be a lot of things that have a certain lifespan that are gonna need to be changed.
yeah.
So if we're gonna do a borrowing, which I know we're gonna need to, if we figure out, with that asset management plan, tie everything into one borrowing to upgrade the plant to what we need it to be, and then bring it to the next level of moving forward on for years to come.
Yeah, and I would also try to, I haven't heard anything as to if there's gonna be something on an article or anything for the highway.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so,
On the annual?
yeah, I don't know, I haven't heard anything if there's any articles for that or not. I haven't heard anything
I haven't heard much about it. It's been kinda
about it at all
quiet,
right now, it's been
yeah.
quiet, so. I would think that if we could lump it all together at the same time as they do, that with the larger borrowing, we'll get better rates and better, much lower fees on the borrowing.
I agree, but I'm just trying to think
So-
time-wise, do we have enough time?
Yeah.
Because you got the warrant to
Right.
close, when it open and closes. So what's the cutoff?
I don't think
What's
we have
the-
enough information in order
Yeah,
to put anything for
right
this,
now.
this town meeting.
But if it's,
Yeah.
Shoot for fall.
Fall town meeting.
right, but back to your point, if we're trying to get on the borrowing on the,
Right,
on
and
that.
that's, I gotta figure out timing
Yeah.
with their projects to see, if they have a time frame on when they plan on doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would like to try to lump it all together and do one. I mean, if there's some of these smaller things that, I was thinking of this as well while I was doing the budget, was some of these smaller items that we need to do right now, instead of depleting all the retained earnings, we're gonna have to do a small borrowing for the Depot Street project. We may wanna lump additional into that and do one borrowing and take care of some of these.
Well, has that already been done, the borrowing for
No.
that? That hasn't been done?
No.
Okay.
There was authorization to borrow, but
So how's everybody been getting paid?
we've used all the other funds so far. We haven't got into the
Okay,
part that
then-
we have to borrow yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
if you look at it from that perspective, whatever we're looking at for borrowing is basically just what it's going to cost for
Okay.
the remaining work.
Yeah,
Because we've just about ran out of money on all the other stuff.
okay.
It's a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I agree, then we should put it in with that.
Yeah, so if we can look at that, so I don't know if I need to, so we'll look at this this budget right now and come up with what you guys think. Hey, let's hit these 3 or 4 items and add that to a borrowing. Then I'll talk to them about adding an article to, do a borrowing, raise appropriate borrow, whatever, for those specific items.
Right,
And then we'll just do that as a combined borrow.
so the last town meeting was 960 a borrowing, right? Was it
Yeah,
nine?
it won't be that.
So we're just gonna add that to, or we'll add the new stuff to that, whatever the total is, and then
Right.
borrow the one thing, okay.
And I would say that, if we're far enough under on the budget for this whole project that we didn't use the 960, say we're only gonna borrow 5, I'd like to be able to say, oh, well, we got 460 we can use, let's lump these items and borrow the whole 460, or 960, but
Yeah, it doesn't-
the article's not written that way, so we
Yeah.
can't do that. So I'd have to go to town meeting and say, all right, we wanna
yeah.
borrow this as part of that, and, do one borrowing.
I think that one, Matt might have a little more insight on that, or Gene would know. How would they actually work this over? If you have a project that's budgeted for a certain number and it's on the budget, but that money's still sitting there, so doesn't it have to be voted back?
No, so we didn't do the borrowing, because it said up to.
Okay,
Up to 960. So if we had to go over, we'd have to go back to town meeting in order to borrow more money to finish the project. As long as we stay under the budget, we only borrow what we need to borrow. We don't borrow the full amount.
okay.
If we had borrowed the full amount,
All right,
then that money would sit in an account,
that's what I was wondering.
and then it either just sits there until we have another like project that we can say, all right, we're going to transfer this and then borrow the remaining to do this project.
Because I've seen, in years past, that there's things like 15 years ago that with extra money and something, and it gets
Well,
transferred
So
out.
like this project that we just did for the Depot Street project,
Yeah.
that's where we cleaned up the money that we had left in the bridge when we put that pipe in the ground.
Yeah,
There was a little money left from either Booster Station or the Franklin Street tank. So that's how long those monies were just sitting there. We finally cleaned all those up with this
okay.
Depot Street project. So, but yeah, if you did borrow the money, it has to sit there, or you could go
Until
to
it gets reappropriated.
yeah, you could go to fall town meeting and then reallocate it.
Okay.
to-
Yeah, okay. All right. So, anything else on this, Kyle?
No, if you guys are good with it, I'll try to set up a meeting.
No, I think it's great.
For us all to get together.
You put a lot of time and work into that, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. And hopefully, we can get an idea in which direction, which we need to go.
It's still off the press. Still hot. Still hot this morning.
Great. Okay. Budget.
As if Cinegro wasn't enough fun to talk about.
Yeah. So last budget, the last meeting we had, we were in, we talked about the budget. We're gonna get some more numbers and try to fine tune things.
Yeah.
So where are we sitting now?
All right. So I tried to go through and fine tune as much as I could. So repairs and maintenance, last time I had said, it looks like it's negative 141.9 or 141.5.
Okay, we're on the sewer side, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the one that I got it down as 100, it was 241.5. So it looks like we lowered it by 141.5, but I actually increased it by 50,000. That's the repairs and maintenance. I explained that last time that line item has to go up. I can't get enough maintenance done down here at that budget. So I increased that by 50, but it looks like it's negative 141.5 because we had budgeted the outside of the normal budget at 191.5 last time. So
Yeah.
that's just bringing us to what our baseline budget would be. The new baseline would be 100,000 on that line item. We'll get to the other items, which are a significant number after we get through this baseline here. Rentals and leases, we increased by 1,000. Figures that's the one I didn't write my note on as to why I have that number there. Anyway, so that's 1,000. I'm just gonna move on from that for now.
Okay.
So maintenance contract, we went up 1,560. That was the cross connection, the company that we were using. They just stopped doing it, so I had to get a different company to come in and do that. The new company is a little more expensive. So that's the increase there. For professional and technical consulting, we went up 13,000 there. Some of that is the testing. We have to do the PFAS testing and stuff now, and the influent effluent sludge.
Yeah.
That's probably the most expensive test we do, and I've got to do that twice a year down there. Let me see. It's a wrote a note here and I can't read my own writing. Yeah, I've got another one here for that. Let me come back to that one.
On the professional technical?
Yeah, so I've got another one here, but I can't read my writing. Put some work or something, but I'll get back to that.
I was just seeing when.
So that was a $13,000 increase.
Yeah.
So you just got a question on what that was?
Yeah, I'll come up with what the other number was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Advertising was a
Yeah, advertising on the wastewater I raised because, like I said, we want to go on Indeed, I think, and then a lot of the ones that we used to do for free, now we're charging.
Yeah.
So some of those I'm gonna have to pay to get those ads out on the wastewater
Does
side.
the town already have an account? I know Fire had put an ad.
Yeah, I know Fire's done it,
So,
so they must already have an
I was
account.
gonna say, maybe we
But
can
I think
just
they charge you for to post.
post, okay.
So
Do you know anything about that, how that works on Indeed?
I'm not sure on the payment
No,
structure.
okay.
but overall, I know it's gonna cost more than it has in the past.
Yep. Employee training,
Yeah, that, I mean, we're gonna have more staff. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to get them licensed, so.
yep.
Bruce did pass the 2D exam, so he's all set there.
Good, very good.
So licenses and subscriptions, that, it looks like it went up, but I've reduced on another line item because I'm just trying to realign where these things are, so. The mission monitoring systems for all the pump stations, we had that in a different line item, which it really should be under that one. So that's one of the increases there. The other increase is that we had to now do a subscription for the census metering software that we use. I blew it off for years. The original thing was they wanted $5,000 a year for the licensing, update, software, all that stuff. We didn't want to pay that, so we said no, we'll pass on that. But then when you get to a point that the software didn't work, you need to upgrade to the new version. We just called them up, and it was $400 an hour. But it's, we bill twice a year, so if I have to call them once every 3 years, that's $15,000 we would have spent. I'll pay someone $400 an hour for a 2-hour
Yeah.
thing to get it fixed. So we did that one time. We went to do it the next time. They said, "Oh no, we don't offer that anymore." So they wouldn't do the hourly rate thing anymore. So we said, "Never mind." We did a workaround to get around it. We finally ran into it this year that we can't work around it anymore. Nothing will work. The new radios and everything that we bring in, they're on a new firmware, and it doesn't work with the old stuff. They came in. I sent an email that wasn't very nice because they came in with the guy saying that he thinks he can work around and get the patch put in. Then while he was going through that process, he was kind of talking about how, oh, well, if you did the subscription, this and that. So I'm like, oh, you sound like you're a salesman for the subscription package. He's like, oh, no, I'm just trying to get this fixed. And then the next time he came in, he's like, oh, well, I do the sales on the subscription. Well, yeah, that's what I thought. So.
It was a catch.
They weren't able to get through it. It kind of appeared that way to me whenever we were doing it. Like I said, I sent an email that wasn't very nice. So we ended up we're stuck having to do the subscription. I don't really have a way around it at this point. So, but it went from 5,000 to 3,800. So we're down a little bit on what it was, but that's the increase there.
Okay.
The next line item is the big one, the Synagro. We increased 160. That doubles what our current cost is based on conversations we just had.
Yeah.
Vehicular supplies, I went up 2,000 with the newer truck being ordered. We're going to have to outfit that one a little bit with tools and equipment. Gasoline, I left level funded. Public works supplies. Let's see. That was the chemical, so I increased that by 15,000 based on the fact that if I have to go to a pack or the Epic 2400 or whatever, that cost is like 4 times what it is for the alum. So that's the reason for that line item there.
But it's less amount of chemical.
Right, I should use a less volume, but I won't know. And the reason originally I was going to keep it level funded, figuring it might offset. But if I have to add chemical to try to thicken down the digesters, yeah. So I put some in there just in case, because that process is going to take additional chemical on top of what we're currently using.
Right. Understandable. Yeah.
You see the negative there on the Uniforms and other. That negative is because the one up top where I said the mission was added to that line item up above, it was under this line item.
And other supplies?
Yeah,
Yeah, uniforms is level fund.
yeah, so other supplies, that's where, for whatever reason, mission was charged to.
Okay,
So I reduced that line item because I accounted for it in the other line item up above.
okay. And the 5,100,
Yeah, and the 50,
Yep.
well, the 5,100 includes that mission.
right,
Plus the 3,800 from the.
yeah, okay.
So the next one, insurance premiums. Well, as you guys are aware, insurance is going up.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah, and that's a guess. I don't really have a number from the town yet, so
yeah.
I just estimated that one.
It's brutal.
Worcester County retirement went up a little bit. That's based on salaries. Debt, we're out of debt, so that all that line items came off. That's it for the sewer. So overall, it's about a 95,000 increase, which if you look at the one big line item at Synagro, we're actually,
Right,
we decreased a little bit overall, except for that Synagro line item kind of killed us.
okay.
Alright, on the water side, so repairs and maintenance is that one line item I told you I hadn't dropped it out of. So I reduced that by the 44,500 on this one. For our regular repairs and maintenance budget of 40,000, which is typically what we use. Heating I went up on. I went up 5,000 on heating because we're already. Where were we? We're already over this budget currently by like 1,200 or something. I had it written down somewhere, but I got too many pieces of paper now. Alright, already over by 2,706.
No surprise with the winter we had.
Yeah, it was a tough winter. I do have a company coming out tomorrow from the Green Communities stuff to see if we can get some kind of grant to insulate turbine better. So we try to insulate that and look at putting a heat pump out there instead of the electric heater that we're using now. As well as looking at a heat pump for down back, because that's the one area that we didn't get natural gas to. So I still have a 500-gallon propane tank down there, and it's got one of those the Modine heaters.
Right.
But ever since it was new, that Modine heater trips out on us all the time. Sometimes it's because there's a bird nest in the exhaust. Other times I don't know why, but it trips out. But that unit, for whatever reason, you gotta take the unit apart because the reset button's inside. So it's just, yeah, that's why I said, why don't they put a remote reset? So if we can get some funding to swap from propane to a heat pump, maybe I'll swap that out. That building really shouldn't take too much heat, so.
So the town, we should still qualify for a lot of like the Mass Save programs. We should be
Yeah,
able
well, it's
to-
the green communities, that's what I mean, that's, the town's part of green communities, so
Yeah.
these are things that we should be able to get some grant
Yeah,
stuff through. So I'm looking at getting a price for, or see if we can get a grant for the heat pump at Turbine as opposed to that electric heater, insulate that building, heat pump down here at that back building, and a heat pump at the Glen Street pump station. So we'll walk through those with them tomorrow. Go from there. License and subscription on this one. Let's go back where we're heating. Repairs and maintenance we already talked about. Rentals and leases, I plan on trying to rehab the turbine well field this year. So we'll need to rent that air compressor like we do whenever we do that. We typically do it every 3 years, but
What is it now?
to recondition the wells down there. It's a tubular well field, so
That's on West Street.
yeah.
Yep.
So we take an air compressor and you try to get all the rust and stuff that might build up inside those wells.
Mm-hmm.
Break everything free so the wells are flowing good again. because we do that maintenance, it's the only reason, one of the very few two to the well fields left. in
Still
the
have
house.
it, yeah.
Yeah, the state keeps saying, why don't you get rid of that and put some drilled wells in? I'm like, I don't want to put drilled wells in because then I'm going into a different level of water.
Right.
Yeah, I remember years ago I met with that guy from the state and talked about that particular
Ed
one.
Gates?
No, Joseph Rudy.
Oh, yeah.
And he came down and I talked with him, and he said that they would never allow the town to do anything different on that because of that. He said your water's good. Having a landfill behind it, if you start drilling, you
Yeah,
might
get into a
disturb
certain
everything.
vein.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want to get into a different level.
Yeah. So he said that the chances are that would never allow to do any major overhaul in that, except of what's the existing condition now.
Yeah, so that's why we want
Keep up with the
We want
maintenance.
to keep that,
Yeah.
one maintained.
Well, and the reason was because the cost of the pump is because you're pulling it versus pushing, so the electric bill's huge on those. So I was looking at a way to try to save
Right.
if we could come up with a different setup, but didn't really make any headway on that.
Maintenance contracts. I think some of that is the backflow prevention, because we got to do more the testing on backflows there.
Which one? Which line are you on?
That's
Maintenance
the-
contracts?
Yeah,
Okay.
maintenance contracts.
Yep.
Advertising, I reduced that by $750 because we don't have to advertise for that job anymore. But we still do have to advertise. I just put money in there in case we had to advertise for rate hearing or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the next item is the license and subscriptions. That one, again, we had the mission was in the wrong spot, so I moved it down to where that one should be. Insurance premium, same thing. Capital increased by 20,000, so we can try to get the radios installed. Like this time of year, it was miserable. We had to estimate some readings because there was so much sound.
Yeah,
Couldn't
understandable.
get to them, so we'll try to put a little effort into getting radios put in this year. And that's about it there.
Okay. So, two things I want to look. A couple things was on the salaries. There's an increase on the salaries of 8,800. What was the
So the 2% COLA is what they did this year.
2%?
Yeah.
And then
I
19.
think Josh was eligible for a stick.
So that was on the water side. So what about now? This is 19,000 increase on the sewer salaries.
So the sewer went up on the potential employee just to give us the flexibility. If we needed to move anywhere to get a
Oh,
qualified,
for the
yeah, to get
okay,
a qualified
okay.
staff in
Yeah.
here.
Okay. All right. And then, did we want to? On the stipends for the commissioners, did we want? I know we talked about slowly increasing it as we went along because it was so low for so long that we've been slowly just adding a little bit to it to try to get it built up without making a substantial difference. So currently we were at I think it's 1,200.
It's 36 altogether, so
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, so 1,200 per commissioner. So if we want to do it, because that takes, you're gonna have there's two votes on that. One.
So yeah, as I said, you've got to do whatever article.
Under
They
elected, yeah.
So I don't know if they already went down that road or not.
Well, the warrant's still,
It's still open. So.
yeah, I haven't even got to that, so we can still, under elected officials,
Yeah, you should-
under the stipends. we can
Should still be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we should try to get it up to, I would make a recommendation that we bring it up to, maybe 300. So it'd be like 1,500 instead of 1,200. And see, I mean, it's still, I'm just doing it slowly, because it was at 800, but it's been slowly. But as you know, the workload on doing a lot of the stuff takes a lot more time, and it's still reasonable. Actually, it's still kind of a gift. So I would just make a recommendation on that, if we could slowly increase that again, Bob, to make that
So
reflect.
do you guys have to vote on that? I think you guys have to vote to,
Well, I think that we're just changing the number in the budget, so
In here?
when the budget gets approved, it goes with
I
that.
don't know if we could actually vote on it.
oh yeah, you can.
Yeah, we've never done that, though.
I thought you guys did vote the last time we raised it.
I don't think we did. I think it was just general consensus, because it was we're voting on the budget, which would
Yeah.
increase the line item, so I don't think we need to.
Okay. So I gotta get ahold of the town and have them put that in that.
In the article for elected officials, yep.
Okay.
We used to actually, remember, I used to joke around on the selectmen used to get paid less than, they were always,
At one point, yeah.
Now they're actually up, I think it's like the chairman's like 5,000, I think, and then the members like
Yeah, they
30
went way up.
like 3,500, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause I
just
think-
something reasonable, it's not, obviously, it doesn't really, just trying to keep up with slowly catch up to where it should be at.
If it gets increased, just don't tell my wife.
I didn't even know we got paid.
Yeah,
I signed on for this thinking it was a volunteer.
well, essentially it is. Yeah.
It is.
That, but Kyle.
All right, so that goes into the, what's the page you're looking at? We got,
Yeah, so that,
Since we have the maintenance agreement.
yeah.
so this is where I need that.
Yeah, because I was getting myself confused having all the other numbers there and back and forth, so
Yeah.
I tried to take everything else out so I could focus on just this year.
Okay. So I just want to make sure we don't have any redundancies on anything.
Yep, the first one will look like a redundancy, but we have two filters.
Okay.
The one that's in the current budget. Well, as soon as I figure out if I've got the money, after all the repairs we're doing here, we'll get that contract signed. So yeah, the first one is the filter rehab. So once I get the first one done, I've got to do the second one.
So is that one completed?
No, like I said, I gotta wait
Okay.
and see if I make sure I've got money
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
you
budget
did
and
the-
decide
yeah.
which ones I either have to do or we can hold off until the next one.
Okay.
So that filter will have to get done.
Okay, that one's a definite then, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be in for FY '27.
Yeah. Well, as you see here, I just left everything 27. So.
Okay, everything's on 27.
Yeah, I took everything else off.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I was confusing myself too much because I had 3 or 4 different years. I'm like, holy
Okay.
crap, which year was what?
Yeah.
And then it all got moved around and things get shifted. So.
I just want to make sure that nothing, if we've already.
Yeah, no, you don't want me budgeting the
Right.
same items.
We'll pull it out of retained earnings because it was already there.
Yeah.
So. Okay. I&I.
Yeah, so there's, and I think I had said before that I'd like to just put a certain amount in the budget for I&I regardless for the repairs. This is the repair side. We already have money budgeted for the investigative part. If you look at that, the one over there in between the two hats, you see 5 circled zones.
Yeah.
And then there's one more that goes down by the mill, but the way I looked at it is we'll cycle through that, and every 5 years we should be inspecting anyway. So we'll do one zone a year, and then if there's free time in between, like if we can't fill a day, I'll have them do some of the Gilboa Street end. So I don't want to set that up as a whole zone for a year. I'll just fit those in throughout the 5 years. to get that done. There's not a lot down there.
So the requirement is every 5 years, that's what they,
Well, we have to do annual, the requirement is annual I&I inspections. It doesn't say how much,
okay, all right,
but I think 5 years is reasonable.
yeah,
And I have to do a report every year that says how much we did, where we did, what
Okay.
we found,
okay,
how much repairs we did.
yeah,
So that's what I was saying. There should be kind of a line item in the budget for repairs
yeah,
on a regular basis. So when we do our annual, if we find something, we can at least fix it. If there's more than one or more than 25,000, then, you know, we'll come back and put together an article or something to say we need to do a major repair.
yeah. So the first one is a definite that has to get done, right?
Yep. So the sewer repairs I&I, that's, you know, if something has to get cut here, it's probably gonna be that one, along with the next two, the lining. Like I said in the last meeting, you know, on C Street where the pump station comes in from Davis Street into that line, when we did the inspection there, there's a lot of failure going on with that gravity line there. So that one was a prime candidate to have it lined as opposed to replaced.
On the 2,400 feet,
Yeah,
that's C Street?
yeah. And I forgot to go through my notes to figure out where the 1,700 feet was, so I would probably just stick with the 2,400 feet for this one. And put off that 1,700 feet, and that may have been on Gilboa Street, but we dug up and repaired a section on Gilboa Street. That was the main problem.
Okay. So, I'm gonna strike, so you wanna strike,
Strike the 170.
170, you know. Okay. Then we have,
Chemical root treatment. When we did the initial I&I investigation, we identified a few areas that need some chemical root treatment. One of them being the siphon right over here, 'cause right at that manhole on the other side. They had to sit there and cut away everything as much as they could last time we cleaned it out. But it's just going to grow back in if we don't chemically treat it. So and we got a few areas, and if I'm going to do it, I'd rather get it all done at once as opposed to just bring people in to do it for one spot. But there's the in the I&I study, there's on that map, there's it points out the areas that need it.
okay,
This is another blower stage replacement.
so we have that,
Yeah, like I said, we've got 6 blowers,
yep,
and I figured if we started now, we would replace them annually until we get done.
okay, so that's a definite,
Yeah.
so, and the root's a definite,
The precast stairs, we spoke about those before. I haven't got any pricing on that yet. I know you said look at the
the galvanized.
galvanized
Yeah.
ones opposed to the precast, so I will still look at that. That's not high on my priority, so
Okay,
that one I would, unless I can get them cheap enough, then I'll hold off on that one for now.
line through that one for now.
Grip box for the headworks, I need to do that.
Was that, that's the first time for that, right?
Yeah, we had looked at it. I had it on the list before, but we never moved forward because we were going to try to make one ourselves. But
Okay,
after looking at it and how much extra fab work we got to do to make it work, it's going to end up costing us as much as buying one that's supposed to be done for it anyway. So
okay,
that I got to get done. The conversion to the HVAC, that's got to get done.
that one, we had appropriated that before, I think, right?
We had talked about it. I don't think I went through my notes. I couldn't find where I had it in here for anything.
Trying to remember if it was under, in the line item budget.
No, that would have been a one-time thing. I wouldn't have put that in the budget.
Okay. It was-
I know we had discussed it,
Yeah, I remember, I thought we,
but I think we got into the heating season this year, and I said,
Yeah.
well, we'll wait until spring when the heat's off so I can do the conversion, because it's a pain the way you got to do it, because you got to get the gas line inspected, so you got to connect it, get it inspected before you can get it switched over and activated.
Yep.
But that means I've got to disconnect the old to connect the new, so I can't do it in the middle of the heating season. But this one over here, everything failed, so all
Yeah.
that's got to get replaced anyway.
Okay, so that's a definite then, right?
Yeah.
Mixer motor.
So those, I had rebuilt one last year, but then after we got that one hooked up and going, another one shorted out like that week. So I've got one that's not working out there right now, so I need to get that one done regardless.
Okay.
And then again, we'll have to do one a year for the next 2 or 3 years. So
Okay, so that, we haven't done any of those at all yet before, have we?
no.
Okay. Spare mixer assembly, that's a big one.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the accurate price right now. That was what I was estimating based off of what I had in my head of what they were going to cost. I requested a quote for it from the company. I haven't got that yet, so I would imagine I'll have that number within the next couple weeks. Yeah, so I'm actually thinking it's probably less than 110 because I'm basing the decanter at about 100. That was after conversations with the manufacturer. So the decanter's a little more involved than the mixer. The problem I had with the mixer whenever I went to do that one, I can't get that motor anymore. It's a special motor. The shaft is hollow and it goes down like 6 feet. So it's not a standard motor. So the last one I couldn't even get a replacement. I ended up having them rebuild that one. So they took it apart, had to remachine the shafts and put new bearings and all that stuff and rewind it. So. So I reached out to them for like I said, that's another one of those things where for the past, I don't know how many years, if we had an issue, we always pulled it out of the tank that was offline, put it in, and then had that one fixed while we were doing it. But if if the other projects come through and we have to activate all 3 basins, I don't have that option anymore. So that's why I wanted to have a spare decanter set up and a spare mixer set up. So if one goes down, bring in the crane, swap them out, and rebuild that one while we're in between. So I'm going to have to do something with the mixer.
So is that,
I mean, as you see, I moved it over, so I didn't really have it on the list to
yeah,
push forward this year with it. It does need to be done, but what I'm going to do now is fix that mixer motor so that it'll be operational. And then I would say if we're going to do a borrowing, if we do a big borrowing for the upgrades like we were talking about, I would probably get that at the same time.
that's what I'm just trying to, do you know what our retained earnings is at? I should have it last year, but I'm not sure what was certified.
I don't know if I had the breakdown. I think that's what I was waiting for.
Well, I guess we could go through it all and then see.
Yeah, I know we don't have enough in retained earnings for all this.
Yeah, but I must want to see what, just for planning purposes, obviously there's a couple of big ticket items in here that I think should go. I don't think we're gonna be able to fund that through retained earnings, so that
No,
would
we
be
can't refund all this. That's why I was saying
adding it to the depot
to
strip.
the depot strip. So that's why we got to figure out what you want to do through retained earnings, or if you even want to touch retained earnings, and just see if we can do all this borrowing through.
Well, depending, we'll see where retained earnings, where we're sitting, and then
Right.
we can, some of it we can transfer from retained earnings, but then the bigger ticket items, we can.
Yeah, and I know we have the 250 from retained earnings sitting on the North Street,
Right.
but we don't know what's happening with that yet.
Yeah.
So.
So the 110, that would be I would think that would be a question mark on whether that would be retained earnings or
Well, the 110, I would say, if we were going to do a borrowing, I would say move forward with that. If we're not going to borrow, we're going to use retained earnings, and I'll hold off for another year. I'll rebuild the motor that we have now, because right now I have that tank offline, so I can rebuild the motor and go that route until we figure out. But if we're gonna do the borrowing, I would rather, we know it needs to be done,
Yeah.
so, but it's not as critical as some of these other ones I have to get done.
So I guess we'll have to look, see what we have in retained earnings and then try to allocate that accordingly, whether or not do a borrowing or retained earnings. So the micro strainer replacement, 255,000.
Yeah, so that's the unit at the Headworks, which is one of the things that I think is causing some of our problems with the mixers. There's a hole in the strainer now, so some of the fine fabric or fibers are getting through. And for whatever reason, all the bugs, it must be because we're in Douglas in a textile mill, but they're all little weavers down there, and they weave all those fabrics back together, and it gets all over all our stuff down there and binds everything up. So I think there's like rag stuff that forms in there, and it's binding up, and it gets stuck in the mixer. And it might be what's causing us to bind up and overheat a motor or short a motor out. So that the micro strainer, I know I'm going to see if I can get O'Leary to weld it to repair it for now. But I know we're kind of at the end of the useful life, and when they came in and did the evaluation, they were saying that you really got to look at replacing that.
So that would definitely be under a borrowing.
Yes.
I'm gonna circle that for borrowing.
Then I've got in there the grit removal system, but as you see, I got that off to the side. I'm going to do some repairs to that soon. But they are recommending that, you know, to replace it, the newer ones get a much higher removal rate. It'll be less wear and tear on the equipment in the SBRs. So that's one that we got to look at in the near future.
So do you want to look at, when you say the near future, should we address it with the borrowing this year, or to address it with the borrowing on moving forward with the plant upgrade?
I would say if we do the plant upgrade, if we got to do the thickeners or any of that stuff, I would look at lumping that into that.
Okay.
For one, like I said, that would remove solids, you know, the inert solids, the sand, grit, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It'll take it out of the volume of solids that we're generating on the other end.
Right. Okay. So hold on that until we figure out.
Yeah, that would be the larger borrowing. That's why I put these three over here.
Okay.
You know, the micro strainer, I'm pushing that. That may be causing a lot of our other maintenance issues down here, so I'd rather move forward on that one sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
The grit removal, I know it needs to be done in the near but not as critical as the micro strainer. So while we're doing other projects that are going to be bigger, that's when you'd hire a contractor to lump it all together as part of that project, replace that strainer and do the building and whatever. So I would look at all that at once.
Yeah. Okay.
The toe plates, I keep putting those on there. It's an OSHA issue.
That's a crazy
Say,
number. That's a crazy number.
It's crazy, but if you go out there and look at the linear footage,
Yeah.
and how many linear feet and how much aluminum plate's going to cost, and then
Does it have to be aluminum?
well, that's what everything else is.
Could you use stainless? Or would that be more money?
I'm sure you could use stainless, but I would think stainless is more expensive than aluminum and
Is it?
harder to work with.
Is it?
We have aluminum, like what we would need, which baffles me. They put the toe kick plate on the walkway that goes up into that building that's this high off the ground. But they don't put it where you got a 30-foot drop into a tank.
Yeah.
But I think that was probably one of the items that when that company went bankrupt, it was, that's one of the end things that you would do. So they went bankrupt before completing the plant, and that was one of the things that got left off the list of things that you guys had bond money or whatever to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bunch of things that didn't get done.
Yeah, like the spare parts I was
Right.
telling him
All
earlier.
the
So
spare
they
parts.
they went bankrupt, so we got no spare parts. It took me this long to build spare parts, and now we're going through them all, and I got no spare parts again.
Yeah, that was performance when that went south.
Yeah. And then I put a number, I mean, that's pulling a number out of a hat for the thickening. I don't know if there's something else that we're gonna have to do that might be required to get the thickening to work. Whether it be some reconfigurations in the digesters, the way the digesters are now, you've got 2 tanks. They're linked together with a pipe that kind of links the 2 together. Right now we operate them both at the same time. We leave that pipe in between open. If we did something to try to come up with a method of thickening enough to get it to Upper Blackstone's permit or allowable limits, it might take something like disconnecting the connection between the 2 tanks, use one as a digester, and then
One is a
go
thick-
from one to the other to go gravity thickener with the other.
and then it pumps up to with a
Right, so then we would pump out of the one tank that's thickening up through there. It would take longer to fill a truck, but I'm spitballing here,
Yeah,
trying to come up
yeah.
with ideas. I'm just thinking that you might want to have some money to, if we got to do some mechanical changes to alter things and then add a pump to pump from one to the other or whatever, so. I'm just trying to come up with other ideas that'll not cost us millions and be able to do it in a time frame that we have.
Yeah.
But that's all I can think of is converting one tank into more of a thickening basin and the other tank still being a digester. We digest in one, settle, pump from the bottom of that one into the other one, add some coagulant, settle again, and then, you wouldn't aerate the thickener one, so it'd have a longer time to settle before they pump. So with some added coagulant, we might have to add a mixer to get it to mix in, to get it homogenized so that it'll bind to everything and then settle. But that might be an option for us to potentially get to 4%.
So there's 2 tanks down there now. You get digester in a tank. So then when it goes out of digester, it goes to the tank and it gets pumped up to the truck.
No, so the digesters, it's all contained in one. So the digesters are there, you aerate, then you shut the air off. When Synagro is going to come, we shut the air off, let it settle, and then the pumps are in the bottom of those tanks.
Yeah.
It pulls it directly out.
Okay. All right.
But I'm saying convert one of them. You do your normal air, the aerobic digestion in one. Then you shut the air off for a little while, you let it settle, then you pull from that one to the other one. And then you would, stop that there, but this one may be operating at this level, this one might be at this level. And then this one you're aerating still to keep it doing the process that you originally do with the aerobic digestion. And then this one you would shut the air off. You'd mix in some coagulant and then just let it settle. You decant the clear liquid off the top, it comes back up to the treatment plant. But the bottom would end up getting thicker than we get now.
Right. Get it up to the number.
Yeah, because the way we operate as a aerobic digester, you're running it and you just shut the air off for a couple hours before they come. Thickener, you want it off for more than a couple hours.
Yeah.
The problem with that is going without air, it goes septic, then you get odors. That's where.
How big are these tanks?
Not huge. I forget. I'd have to do the math to get you the gallons, but I think when we actually did, I probably have numbers on my phone. When we pump out Synagro for 9,000 gallons over the 2 tanks, I think it takes it down like 1.5 to 2 feet, something like that.
That's a good sized tank.
Yeah. And I want to say it runs at like 8 or 9 feet. So
Okay.
Significant.
Yeah.
yeah, so there should be enough that I could get it.
Yeah,
And if we get it to
capacity-wise.
4%, we wouldn't be running, if we're at 1.9, somewhere around there now, if we double the percentage, it would decrease the trucking by half. So if I
Right.
get 3 loads a week now, I could get down to
1.5-ish.
1 to 1.5, depending on where I get. All around it would, thicken it, we'd have less sludge going out volume-wise, and I could have more time to let it settle. But like I said, we have a chance of increasing odors down there.
So So how do you want to leave that then? What's the recommendation on that? Because we don't really know at this point, right?
I don't know, so I don't know if we
don't know
wanna,
the other option that you discussed too, so.
yeah, so we're up in the air on all of it,
Yeah.
so I think for this one, I would say we need to have it in our minds that I might need money to do something,
Yeah,
but it may be we might have to go to fall town meeting.
transfer retained earnings.
Right.
Okay, so we gotta make sure we have,
So that's why I'm saying if
okay,
we're doing this stuff up here, we may not want to deplete retained earnings, because we
Yeah,
might need
that's
to
what I'm
have
just
that as a
trying to-
reserve
yeah.
in case we gotta do something quick. And I mean, right now, I would say, you know, our deadline for Synagro is July 1st, so
Right.
technically I need to do this before then. But we don't have the ability to do it before then, other than the small changes I'm gonna try to make and see if I can get some headway.
Right.
I mean, he seemed receptive even at the 2% if we got rid of the Allen,
Right.
the other avenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Upper Blackstone wanted the 4% and the Allen gone. so-
Correct.
So, long-term, the thickening part would be for Upper Blackstone. Short-term, we go through the other guy. But if it turns out, like I said, keep this one in mind.
Yeah,
But if between now and July, if something happens, I'll pull the sewer lining, that 240 that we're looking at for the sewer lining for C
Right.
Street.
right,
We pull that, do that the following year, or at fall town meeting, get money reallocated, and I do that in the fall, and take that money to put towards this.
Probably.
okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah, so basically we want to fund that, and it could be going either the lining or the.
Right.
the-
One way or the other,
Right.
it's probably gonna get used. It's just a matter of
Which one?
what takes priority.
So that's probably gonna be a borrowing though. Well, we're gonna see what retained earnings is at. So then we can figure
look
out,
at that.
then we can figure out what we need to. Go through.
Did you have your numbers on what we pulled from last year's retained earnings?
I did. That's the problem. Transfer for retained earnings. No, I had the transfer for retained earnings of 379,514. I don't have, oh yeah, so it would be, remaining balance should have been 369,577. But then we took, then we have, I don't know what's been certified since then though.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I've got the certification from the fall, but I've got to subtract out what we
Yep.
did for the budget.
So 369,577.97. That was when we did the budget. No, that was with the tank. Okay. So we pulled that. It was 250. Yeah. So that would be the most up to date one then.
Yeah, so that's with the 250, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I've got to take the 250 and the 379 out of this. So that's
Certified retained
5, 6.
earnings is the breakdown of retained earnings. And then
That's in there.
everything in there.
It was,
Right,
yeah,
so-
because it was the tank
So
was,
pull the 250.
right, yep, and then
So
that changed
drop
that.
that down to 9 something.
And then the difference on that, the difference from the 250 to 337, the difference added to that brought it to there.
So it has to that.
That's what brought us to the, what our balance would have been. If that math is correct, we just double check that. So it would have been,
Oh, this is the sheet you did.
$87,000, so. Yeah, that's right. So that's where we were at the last budget season. So that was the number that we had. So it was $87,000 difference from the tank, which was 250 instead of the 337.
Yeah.
So we added the 87,000 to the 282, now which brought it to 369,577.
All right, that's town meeting 24.
Yep.
25, so I gotta.
This came from, I think this came from Gene.
That looks like my budget.
Or maybe you did that. Maybe you put that
I'll say,
together.
but yeah, I'm like, but then you had this for discussion purposes only. I'm like, oh, that's something maybe you put in there. I don't know if I emailed it to you and then you redid it.
No.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that
Yeah.
out. But we would have to, this number would have to be reduced by whatever we had did at town meeting for,
Minus the.
right, minus the 379, minus the 250.
Yeah, but then I don't know what the updated number is because it went, that was certified at that point, so I think
Right, that's what I'm saying.
the recertification was.
This is the certification from last fall. So this was after that budget.
Yeah,
But this doesn't account, because this is through June 30th.
okay,
So it wouldn't account for the town meeting that allocated for the 27 budget, or 26 budget. So this would have been as of 25. So what I was saying is with this number, you gotta reduce it by the 379 plus the 250. And then we also did 144 at the special town meeting.
so that's with the 250, this number, so you're saying,
Yeah, no, you've got your numbers accounted for there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, with the certification in October of last year,
okay,
would have been through June 30th, which doesn't include this 250 or that, because that was at town meeting.
okay,
So this certification's only looking at what was June 30th, spent through June 30th,
Okay.
revenues and everything else.
okay,
So we would have to take out, which is what Gene did here, showing you to take out the town meeting from 24 and 25. So if we remove the funds that were taken out here and here, plus the 144, so you get 294 plus 379, 700 and something thousand. So you get about 500,000.
retained earnings,
Yeah, that's spitballing quick.
yeah. So why don't we get another breakdown from Gene?
Yeah.
On exactly what we have, like we had
Yeah,
with that one.
accounting for all the
Yeah,
stuff
to
that's
date.
already been
Yeah, up to date.
accounted for.
yep. And then we have a better idea on it. So that leaves us on the,
So So that's just for the repair stuff on the sewer part up top.
Yep.
I skipped the consulting, I skipped the engineering. Still had another vehicle in here, and then, like I said, those pumps. So I put in for a post EQ pump and another waste pump this round. I probably should do 2 waste pumps since one might have shit the bed yesterday.
Did one shit the bed?
I gotta pull it out. It did trip out and I couldn't get it to reset, so I gotta pull it out and see if there's something better.
So if that did, then obviously add another,
Yeah.
put another pump on that one.
Yep. Yeah, then some of this probably could have went up top with all the other stuff. Sometimes it's like, all right, which one do you put this under for one? So those 3 things there you saw. Then the next 3 down past that is the decanter assembly, then a decanter retrofit. And like I said, I need 1, and then we need to do 3 overall over the next 3 years. So I put that at like 30,000 for that until I get the firm numbers. So these are probably conservative estimates. And then the SCADA computers.
So the decanter assembly, that was
That was the full decanter. That was the one that
just broke.
just broke on Monday.
So that's got to get done.
Yeah.
And then the decanter retrofit.
Yep, that's so when I pull that one out,
Yeah, your rotational.
hopefully I can rebuild it and then swap it out with the one that's in. Which one's not working right? Tank. 1 is actually the one that's not working right because that decanter won't open correctly.
So that's a definite then, right?
Yep. So the 130s are definite.
Yeah.
And then the SCADA computers. Peters is the main one that runs the SCADA, and that's been tripping out multiple times. I took it all apart and I cleaned all the dust and stuff out of it the other day. I'm hoping that'll stop the tripping out. But the SCADA computers, they're, I think it was 10 years now when we did it last, when we upgraded them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting probably beyond when they recommend replacing them. So unfortunately, they're expensive computers because they have to be reliable and can't shut down. And
Right.
there's also a lot of programming involved. They got to rewrite all the programs to work with the new software, firmware, everything else.
So that's the original. That's all original stuff, right?
No, those SCADA computers we upgraded once like
We
10
did?
years ago.
Okay.
So, like I said, and we waited longer than we were supposed to last time, and we're probably waiting longer than we're supposed to now.
Okay. So then we definitely should have that done.
Yeah.
Do we have that in any previous?
No.
Anything previous?
Nope, I just listed it on the last meeting. I listed it
Yeah.
before I had all these other things that I had to add to it,
Okay.
but I have not.
I remember skater for something. Oh, right there.
Yeah, I brought it up last time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's why I said I wanted to clean this up and put it in one column because I'm confusing myself with all these different.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, the years are blending, and I keep. Oh well, we'll move this one over here and that one over there, and I'm like, oh, I want to have a clean list for us to work on. So next year when we're looking at it, we're saying, hang on, which one did we say we did?
Yeah.
So after we go through this meeting and we've already crossed some out, I'll regenerate this list so that we know we're working with the same list. That
Yeah.
next year it'll be easier for us to.
Right. I know, 'cause we were looking at
Yeah, so
and then trying to figure out if it was
Okay.
done, so we got to make sure we don't
Right.
we don't want to reallocate in the budget, just to transfer retained earnings instead of putting in the budget.
yeah. Yeah, I started doing it on this one where I was striking through the ones that I did.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, it's still a mess with the numbers everywhere, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out which ones are where. And
Yeah.
so I just want to do a new list. Then I'll have 2 separate pages next year. This is what we said yet. Did you do all these that we said last year?
Right.
And then which ones do we need to carry over and move to a new one? And
Yeah.
it'll just be cleaner.
Okay. PRV replacements.
Yeah, we did the one. Like I said last year, we budgeted for one. We did that one, and the other one still needs to be done. So one more that needs to be done.
Okay. Tank rehab?
Yeah, so we had discussed this at the last meeting.
Oh, yeah.
This is where, I think the price has probably gone up on what the rehab's gonna take since we approved that project before, but when we approved the money before, I went to do it, when I went to have the engineers put together the thing, they wanted 100,000 just to put the engineering, to put it out to bid. I'm like, I got three prices between, I think it was like 35 and 60,000 to do all the work, but the engineers want 100,000 to put together the thing to say, hey, how much is it gonna cost to do this work? So I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
not doing that. So I did talk to someone about a month and a half ago to see if he'll give me a price on just putting it out to bid. But I wanted to have money in the budget so that we can move forward with it and not keep saying, oh, shit, we don't have enough money, we gotta go back again and do more money, so,
That's for the tank off the common.
yeah.
Yep.
So we have the 100,000 that's sitting there for that project, for the rehab part. I put 150 in case the engineering comes in high to put it out to bid, and then based on, what might have gone up in cost there. If it costs more. I put the thing out there because I gotta call the guy to have the tank inspections done again this year. The company that normally does them, the last 2 years I've been trying to get them to come out, and then they call me up and they're like, oh, well, can you call other communities and see who else needs it? I'm like, I'm not doing your sales for you, I'm going to call all the other towns and see if I can put together enough business for them to come out. So, just a few months ago, one of the local companies that we use for parts and stuff, Thai Sales, they started a division on doing tank inspections. I guess they hired people that have years of experience doing it, so tank inspections and rehab and everything else. So I'm going to get a price from them to do the tank inspections this year because the other one seems to be blowing me off. And that'd be better with a local company as opposed to somebody out of Illinois or wherever they're from.
So how much we had appropriated 100 for that already?
There's 100 already
And
set
that was-
aside, allocated, taken out of everything. We don't see it. It's just sitting there waiting to.
Right, so we'd have to go see exactly which
Where it is.
meeting it was, I think these were all the retained earnings, which we took out, so we just.
All this, yeah, it's not in any of this paperwork. It's already accounted for, that 100,000. You won't see it anywhere here. You don't need to subtract it or anything. It's already been taken out of our retained earnings.
It's already been spent?
Nope, it's sitting in another account, but it's out of our retained earnings because it's in
Right,
an
so-
account allocated for that project.
So it would still have to be considered in here though, because this was,
It was far before 24. This was,
oh, well before that,
Yeah.
okay. So we gotta get the breakdown, all these ones that were appropriated at town meeting, these were transferred from retained earnings at town
The
meeting.
stuff that was currently transferred from retained earnings, I need to account for to see where we stand with it.
Right, so
What's available for retained earnings.
out of all these ones that, we could go back and just reallocate retained earnings
Yeah.
from that, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, this is engineering, that's, I think that's the difference. of
Yeah, I mean, I could go
the
through
project. Yeah,
my folders and look at what we did for retained earnings, what projects were getting funded, so
yeah.
I just didn't want the money just sitting there, because it's already, I'm not sure how that would.
Yeah.
How do you go about, that would probably be a Gene question, how do you go about if there's projects that's funded in some of the annual town meetings previously, that's.
So we
being
gotta go to town meeting to put it back into retained earnings.
So, okay,
Or apply it to a like project.
okay, so we probably should
But it
try
would
to.
still take town meeting.
Yeah, to get it,
Right, so I can't, unfortunately, Depot Street's not gonna close out before this budget, so I can't use what I think's gonna go back to retained earnings.
right. So we should try to clean up this stuff,
Everything is cleaned up.
okay,
At this point, everything's cleaned up that we can clean up. Once we finish the Depot Street project, then we'll know what was spent and we'll know what was appropriated for it. That difference we'll want to go back and either pull it back out, or when we go to do that borrowing, if we do an article for borrowing for, no, I'd have to do an article. We've already got the article for the Depot Street, so this would have to be another article. So if we do an article for borrowing this time to do these, we can word it so that it says, or from other sources, I think. I'll check with Gene to make sure I'm
Okay.
wording, but
okay.
we should
this-
be able to
And
pull
then that
from.
clean that up.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not gonna happen until after this town meeting, so we'll know these numbers by fall town meeting. And at that point, we can do an article to return everything left over to retained earnings.
Right, put that back in, then we'll have
Right.
a larger number of retained earnings. Okay. All right, so that leaves us, so is this, that was a definite, what are you saying?
I mean, I
But we
think
only gotta
that
count for 50,000.
it's well, this is a inflated number.
Okay,
You know, I just put money in there, I put more just so I don't have to say, crap, we don't have enough, I gotta wait another year before we do this project, or go back to town meeting to get more money. But we do have 50,000 on the engineering line item, so if we wanna reduce this, and then I'll just hit that if I have to. Cause I don't have anything earmarked for engineering, but
always.
every year we
Yeah.
budget 50 on each side just in case.
Right.
So if I have to hit that, and then fall town meeting, we transfer if I need additional for something else, but.
And the 100's already there, so it'd be the 50.
Right.
Right, so we could, technically, we could hold on that one. Right,
Well, I need the money for the engineering portion to put it out to bid. So I need something.
right, so the.
If 50 is
if we
enough, then
hold-
I could use that.
Okay,
And then go to town meeting if I need it for anything else, but.
okay. All right, so if we total up projects, let's see, I'm just thinking, sorry about that.
Just when you needed your calculator.
Yeah, I know. Trying to think how I do that without,
Answering it.
yeah,
Hello?
yeah.
Just remember when you were in school, they said you'd never have a calculator with you at all times.
Yeah, true. All right, so we need, let's see, 75. So Bob, just to recap on it, so the 20, the I&I was a definite, right? What was that
For the repairs.
on the sewer
Sewer
repairs?
repairs.
So the sewer line, what we said was the 240, I need to do C Street.
Yeah,
We held off on the 170. Because I don't even remember what section it was that I was trying to do for that 1700
You
feet.
said maybe
So-
I think it might have been something in Gilboa, but the 240 for C Street, so
that would,
that one we were kind of using
as a
as
float
a
off
thickening,
of the-
right, so it's
okay.
between one of those two.
Okay, so that's a borrowing. The the repairs was, that's retained earnings, right?
For which one?
Sewer repairs, I&I,
To 25.
25,
Oh, yeah, that's just retained earnings, right.
okay, so just trying to get the,
I think that's one of the ones that I said I'd hold off on if I had to hold off on something.
yeah, that's what I had it, I didn't have it marked, I just said no question. So we're gonna add up total. What I'm thinking we can do from retained earnings.
I would say the truck is retained earnings, because I wouldn't want to borrow over the time frame that you're borrowing for a vehicle.
Yeah. I didn't put anything in for a truck, I don't know, I'm not too sure about that one at this point. Given what everything we have, I'm just gonna hold on that to see where we're sitting. So that would be 100, the decant assembly, that would probably end up being a borrowing.
Yeah, so as I say, I don't know how you want to look at that. If you want to do the decant assembly and the decanter retrofit as borrowing, because those are more of a long term, they would probably last the value of the loan, or the loan payments. But the SCADA computers, I don't see those going 20 years. So that should probably be more of a retained earnings.
Yeah,
I don't want to borrow money for something that won't
yeah.
outlive the borrowing.
So that would be, if we funded everything, with the exception of vehicle, the decant assembly, the retrofit, if that was a borrowing, the micro strainer replacement, that's a borrowing, and the C Street
Sewer lining.
sewer lining is a borrowing.
Okay, so you got 4 under borrowing.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 under borrowing,
Yeah.
and then the remaining, damn thing, would be like 286.5, and that's not including the truck. And I didn't do anything with the bottom, with the tank rehab stuff.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah. So, which I think that might be based on thinking through the numbers, what feasible on the budget. So then it'll be 286. Fucking thing. 286.5 retained earnings, and then 240. 425, 255, 130, 625. And that would be tied in with the
tied in with the
Depot
borrowing.
Street. I think that's probably going to be fee. I think that's what they're going to need to be. I think that's manageable with the retained earnings, and then obviously the borrowing, the larger items like that. Have to be borrowing. So I'm happy with that. And then obviously the big borrowing is going to be whether we need to do with the upgrade, like
Right.
Patty's working on.
Yeah, if we have to do that, I would see if we
Try to
can
tie that in with,
timing wise with the highway, if we're gonna move forward with that.
yeah.
And then at some point, we gotta make a decision if we're gonna do Main Street.
Right. I wish they would tie that in with the borrowing, like the school did when they did the project with the school.
Yeah.
They tied in the
Well, there was discussions of that, I just don't know
Yeah.
where we ended up yet. I know they were trying to make cuts, and I don't know if that hit the chopping block or not.
yeah.
I know originally it was included, at least from Franklin up to the highway.
Yeah.
But then we've still got from highway up to the tank,
Yeah.
which we've had
The problem there.
2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5 breaks in the
Yeah.
last.
There has been quite a few. I mean, something's gonna have to get done, but it's just a matter of
Right.
see where we are with the. If we can get if they can include the borrowing to at least to the highway, then we can address that at the next
Right.
Second phase.
second phase of that
Yeah.
to get up to there.
More manageable to get from there to there.
Yeah. All right, so everything, I'm good on that, everything. The only thing we'll do is we'll probably just want to clean everything up, Bob, and get it on
Yeah.
one final version, and maybe we could have a quick meeting. When are you scheduled for finance?
I'm gonna talk to Jean today after this meeting.
Okay,
She didn't want to schedule a meeting with them before I had a.
kind of get an idea what
Yeah.
direction. Okay, so why don't you do that, talk with Gene, see what we need to do on that.
If you need it at nighttime, let me know. I'm switching over to first soon, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay.
Like the next day after I do it all night.
All right.
Back to work even.
So we'll leave the budget as is, as presented, and then meet with Gene, get the final numbers we need, get everything in place to get a clean copy of everything, and then we can just get a quick rundown, vote on it, and then we should be good to go. Right? Sounds good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So then based on whatever the budget is, and we look at what revenues were.
Right, we gotta look at obviously the revenue
whether or not
reports.
we're gonna do
A rate here.
Rate hearing.
Yeah, the dreaded,
yeah.
I don't wanna do it, but I understand the need that sometimes it does need to be.
Yeah, the percentage of our increases
Yeah.
have gone up so much over
Out of
the
our
last 2
control.
years.
We're trying to manage as much as we can, but
Yeah, but knowing that our sludge costs, which is the biggest line item in
Yeah.
our budget,
Yeah.
are gonna double. at
and
least.
the repairs, and like I said, everything is 21 years.
Yeah, you're
Then we know what's gonna start
at
increasing.
the end of life on a lot of this stuff, so.
Yeah. But the additional revenue too helps, which would have quite a bit of additional.
Yeah, we had a lot of revenue come in.
So, that's good. All right, so now we
We're not
get,
really up and running yet either, so hopefully we'll have additional revenue coming in from the 2 existing warehouses, and
Yep.
then move forward with the 3rd.
what do I do with
Hopefully put us in a much better revenue system.
Old business is the next item.
my, yeah, I gotta look at, I don't know what the hell I did with my agenda. Too many folders. Okay, old business? Anything, think of any old business? Anything on irrigation?
No, I haven't had time for anything with the irrigation.
I'm just wondering, do you think we could, maybe talk to Matt and see what his thought is on just amending the town bylaw, right? Because that's taken out of if it's taken out of the general bylaws,
Yeah.
and then we can just adopt a policy. So like, the big thing is just to get that out of the general bylaws.
Well, I think we need there's something in the bylaw that we need to keep there for the water bans and stuff.
Yeah.
That has to be in, because it asked me on my annual stats report, do you have a bylaw that addresses the,
Bylaw is policy.
no, it's bylaw.
Bylaw, okay, yeah. So try to keep that
So I'll
in.
keep the portion that
Yeah.
I need for under the Water Management Act portion,
Right.
and then I'll see if we can pull the irrigation portion
Pull that
out,
portion
make it a
out.
policy.
Control of the policy.
Right, and just the policy will simply be dictated by what the DEP guidelines, rules, and regulations are regarding the irrigation.
Yeah.
I think that might be a simpler way to try to tackle it.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk to Matt.
Yeah, see what his thought process is on it, just, 'cause I think it's,
I'll have to look at
It's-
it. Probably have to get Shavin involved because Matt's probably going to defer to him, being the planner, and he goes through all the bylaw stuff. And
oh, he does, that's about his stuff, okay.
I think that's part of him.
Yeah. I think that should clean everything up, what we need, so that's, anything else on old business? No?
No.
Open sessions to topic not reasonably anticipated 40 hours advance of the meeting? No? Okay, so we're just looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All voted? Aye.
That's a, yeah.
Yeah. At 11, yeah, 11.